here, and I was messing around over there, and I went down like this because I was sitting here on the side of the road just playing with the rocks, and for some reason I just looked down that path, and just down that way I saw a black figure standing right on the edge of the tree line next to the road.
It didn't take too long after that until I started realizing, yes, they are here. Now, where we happen to be at right this moment, come to find out, we are sitting in a very hot area that we have a lot of activity.
And I went down there from my car. It was about a 40-minute hike, and I'm the only one. It was during the week. And I get there, and there's no wind, no noise, no bugs, no nothing. It was just absolute silence. It was almost like walking into a bubble. I heard nothing. And it makes the hair go up on the back of your neck. And I hear this hugely loud crack, and I see a tan hand and a brown arm pull the top of this tree that's maybe, I don't know, 3-4 inches thick, not big, but it was kind of tall, just yanked the top of that and yanked it straight down. And I immediately screamed, I'm leaving. And it's the first time I've had a real encounter like that. I was terrified. And I called my wife. I had reception. Called my wife. I told her I loved her. And I told her where the car was. And I told her I would try to call her in an hour. My chest was pounding. My head was on fire. I had to take my baseball cap off. And then I noticed the print's not dry. And I'm like, I'm not leaving.
So the first thing being played is the Ohio howl, and then after that is how I record it, and you'll see how similar they sound next to each other.
Wow. But I went out to one of the spots we did a call blast in the next night, and in 40 minutes there was an interesting crash straight across the street from me. I left Oklahoma and stayed briefly in Missouri, and then headed to Indiana to camp, and while there, was able to interview a few people who've had some interesting experiences. One person I spoke with is Leroy, the head of the Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization. He's a wealth of knowledge and has had a number of experiences. He has generously shared his knowledge with me and others, and a number of us have had some interesting experiences out in the field with Leroy.
I'm Leroy with the Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization. We're sitting out in the woods right now in Monroe County. Actually, I think we're in Brown County, Indiana right now. We're on the borderline of Monroe or Brown County. But I think we're actually in Brown County at this point. And you had asked me earlier if I thought several years ago if there was Bigfoot in Indiana. And my answer to that would have been no. I did not believe there was Bigfoot in Indiana. I did believe there was Bigfoot, but not in Indiana. I never thought that the woods was deep enough in Indiana for a Bigfoot, as I figured they stayed in deeper forest than what we have. But when you look at it, there's 25 state parks in Indiana. There's 16 state forestries in Indiana. And overall, Indiana has over 330 acres that Indiana owns, the state owns. So it's quite a bit of acreage. along with all the private grounds. So when you start looking across these state forestries, there is quite a bit of land out there. It's just not big acreage that I would have thought would have contained, a 8-foot creature that would stay hidden.
Another person that I spoke with is Shane. I ran into him after the Indiana Bigfoot conference at a fireside chat that we had in a forest, and we talked for a little while, and he had a visual encounter in daylight, and he was willing to show me where it was. So this is Shane describing his experience.
Here, and I was messing around over there, and I went down like this because I was sitting there on the side of the road just playing with the rocks, and for some reason I just looked down that path, and just down that way I saw a black figure standing right on the edge of the tree line next to the road.
Wow.
I stood up and was like, oh crap. In my head I didn't say nothing, and I said to myself, that's powerful, because my eyes zoomed in on it really good for what I was seeing, because I was just shocked. And then I just turned around and walked away as quickly as I could, and it didn't move. It stayed perfectly still, and I just started walking.
Wow. Baby arch. It's probably a foot tall.
But when I started getting into it, it didn't take too long to realize it doesn't take a whole lot of property. They are right out our back door. They're right in just outside of towns on the edge. It doesn't take that much property for them to be traveling through. There could be a ditch line behind a house and they'll travel through that. So it didn't take, once I started getting into this, I don't know, 6 months. I'm like, holy, they are here. They are in Indiana. And then within a couple of years of researching, I'm like, wow, I'm having all my own experiences, having eye shine, getting things thrown at me, so they're definitely here. And they're in all of our state parks, all of the state forestries, about any of them that you go to, there is activity in it.
Stars. See the tent?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. I had a DNA test on that, and it came back no known animal.
During this time, I went to the Indiana Bigfoot conference, which was awesome. I also recorded Greg Yost's talk. He's also known as Squatch Man. After speaking with a number of people in Indiana about their experiences, I noticed quite a few of them had mentioned having experiences with Greg, and often they are far from ordinary experiences. Eventually, I too had an incredible experience with Greg where we sat with 2 other people and watched a number of sets of glowing eyes looking right at us from the forest directly in front of us. I've heard from a number of others who also witnessed glowing eyes while with Greg. It seems to be a known thing around these circles that when Greg is around, the chances of Sasquatch activity happening seems to increase. Very fascinating stuff. I'll let Greg himself tell you about one of his experiences.
And then my son of all people, he's like, Dad, he's like, man, what are you doing out there? He goes, Bigfoot ain't real, he's a myth. He goes, you're out there chasing a myth. So I go, well, why don't you come out one day with me and chase that myth with me? So he came out. We went up to Clark State Forest. That's where I always go now. As soon as we got out of my Jeep, whoop, whoop, whoop. And he was like, what was that? And I go, listen. So I did 3 back. He's over there about here to the back of the room. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 3 more. And he's like, do it again. So I did 3 more. He did 3 more. And I did 3 more and it ended. And I looked at Eugene and I said, well, how's that for a myth? And he's like, well, Dad, I can't think of no animal that does that. I said, I can. I go, ain't you ever watched Finding Bigfoot? I mean, that's what they do, they whoop. So he was pretty bought and sold that day.
Do you remember what brought this to your attention? Just that they were in Indiana, that there were Sasquatch in Indiana, or what even made you think about this?
Steve Abney, that founded the Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization, was having a camp out. And he was going to have a camp out in the spring. And this was early March that I'm reading the article that he's going to have a camp out, which turned out to be in my backyard. I lived right outside the Morgan Monroe State Forestry, had lived there my whole life, and he was going to have a camp out searching for Bigfoot in my backyard. And I laughed and went, no way. I've hunted those woods my whole life. There's no Bigfoot out there, just like most of the hunters you hear now.
How big was he, or?
Well, it's kind of hard to judge how tall because it was up on an embankment.
Yeah.
And that's where I found the impression, because the next day I came back just to make sure I wasn't seeing something. You know, you can see shadows, and clearly you can see at least where that tree arches over. You can't see a shadow there. And look how the lighting is right now.
That one that's kind of slightly bent
Yeah,
right there?
and he was a little bit, just a few yards or a few feet, maybe 5 yards, maybe.
Wow.
Towards those trees right there.
No kidding.
And
Right
look
here.
how close he could have caught up to me if he wanted to, or if it wanted to, because we were 11 minutes, I think, from the trucks.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
he was standing right there, and I was like, oh crap, in my head, because I don't know. I mean, like, you're not expecting to see something, and sure wasn't thinking about taking a picture.
Right.
I was like, oh, I'm by myself, and I don't have anything on me.
I'm looking up at the moon. Listen to that October night in Indiana. Wow. You can actually see, because the moon's pretty full. Well, not too full, but when I look down, it doesn't show. But listen to that. It's crazy. One aspect in this I'm very interested in is sound recordings, and especially vocalizations. I had seen some of Aaron's videos on YouTube with some great audio captures of unknown vocals. He also had a booth set up at the Indiana Bigfoot Conference. I asked Aaron if I could interview him and talk about some of the sounds he captured.
So this, I'll go ahead and go in. This is probably, I don't know if it's my best, but it's pretty close. This was the first ever really good vocal I ever got, and one of these in here is actually the one that I use for my call blasting that I have the most luck with. So what I did here, actually, this isn't the full. So all these vocals happen in the span of about a minute. I just kind of cut all the vocals out and just placed it all together in an audio file, because there's like people talking and stuff. So this is just all the vocals kind of placed right next to each other in a continuous play. So we'll just get into it. Let's see. Okay, so if we look, and actually let me go back to the spectrograph. So if we look at this,
I was just going to say they're faint, but those are definitely interesting howls.
Yeah, so that last one is what I actually use on my megaphone. It's definitely the clearest one here. But you see, the frequency is much lower. So it's right around, they start a little under 500 and go up to about, 650, 700, which is a little bit out of the realm of the coyote. So it's definitely lower. But if you listen to that, it really don't sound like a coyote.
Mm.
So the second set here, you'll notice it almost seems like there's two different animals here that are kind of vocalizing at the same time.
Mm. Yeah, I see the two lines.
So, and sometimes, yeah. And then I, let's see here. So then I just isolated. This is the exact same one I put on my megaphone. So yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of coyotes. I've seen, there's ways to compare audio. It's like Macaulay Library of Sound, I think it is, where you can look up any animal in the entire world. So you can type in coyote and you can listen. And I've spent time doing that, like listen to coyotes, listen to even wolves, even though we really don't have wolves in Indiana, just to kind of rule out it being a specific animal. And I mean, obviously, I couldn't find a coyote to sound like that. So I always try to rule things out, which I think is important to do.
Yeah, those are definitely odd. They don't sound like the typical coyotes I hear, and that does beg a question, because you hear about coyotes and Sasquatch vocalizing together. It makes you wonder, like, somebody who might have thought they heard a coyote, it might not have been a coyote.
Right, because people are like, I've played these for people like, oh, it's just a coyote, and I've talked to other people that have hunted their whole life, and they're like, I've never heard anything that sound like that.
Good vocals.
So I got a hold of Steve Abney because I said, I want to hear what this guy's got to say. I got a hold of him. He took me out. It was early March. Only a little bit of the ground was froze in spots, or thawed in spots, I should say. And we ran across a print, a Bigfoot print that you could clearly see the toes and everything. And it's like, this is frozen ground, snow still in places, but here's toe prints. But I walked away going, he took me there. How can I believe that? But that's what I'm saying. It didn't take too long after that until I started realizing, yes, they are here. Until then, I would have never thought that.
Indiana seems like one of the least likely places you'd look for Sasquatch, with so much land covered in cornfields, and it isn't known for having vast, deep forests. And yet, there are numerous people who have reported very unusual experiences, and there are a number of actual sightings of this mysterious, elusive being. One of them is my friend Jeff. He has gone out solo a number of times and had quite a few hair-raising experiences.
Another time I went down to this pond that I like a lot, and I've been going down there for probably 10, 12 years, and I found a lot of footprints. There's like 3 or 4 different ways to get down there, and some are kind of messy and brushy and buggy, and they're just kind of fun, and they got a bunch of creeks and whatnot. And I went down there from my car. It was about a 40-minute hike, and I'm the only one. It was during the week. I think it was during COVID, maybe before, I don't remember. But there was like nobody in the park, and it's like a wonderful time to go, and it's a good-sized park. So I'm way back there down this 2-mile fire road, and I'm down at this pond, and I go down there the first time, and I'm looking actively for a footprint. And I see a footprint, and it's in gravel, and it's a little bigger than my boot, so it could be a person, you don't know, but I'm thinking I'm seeing toes. So I stop for a minute, knowing that my plaster of Paris, which I was using at that time, was back at the car. And getting out of there, it's like a straight uphill walk for a half hour, 40 minutes. And I thought, all right, fine. And when I got down there, it was just this beautiful day, sun shining. You could hear animals moving in the woods. I walk all the way back to my car, about a half hour. I get the cashmere chair, walk back down there, and it's about an hour before the sun's going down. And I get there, and there's no wind, no noise, no bugs, no nothing. It was just absolute silence. It was almost like walking into a bubble. I heard nothing. and it makes the hair go up on the back of your neck. So I cast this print. I take some water out of the pond, and I cast this print knowing it's going to come out for crap because it's in gravel and sand. I never get good prints out of those. I can never find them in clay. And so I pour the print. I got to wait 40 minutes. So there's this tree that came out near the pond. It was almost like in a chair shape, really. It's kind of like a banana or whatever. And I just sit on this tree. And I think, well, hell, I got 40 minutes to kill. I might as well walk around. So I walk around the pond and I go to the base of this hill that I never go up because the first time I went up, I was near there. There was a large, healthy tree that went over. And I was always convinced it was pushed. It was the first time I ever came down this pond years ago. I came down here, the dude that took the Finding Bigfoot people took me out there, this older guy I met in the woods. And so anyways, I've gone down there the second time. The cast is setting up. I got a half hour, so I'm wandering around the pond. There's no noise. I go to the base of this hill, and I see a much larger track. It's the back corner of the pond where the tree branches kind of come down that stuff could be drinking. You may not see them from the other end where people come in. So I see a much larger print, and I hear above me something moving. And it doesn't dawn on me. I'm thinking maybe it's a deer or something, but there had been nothing moving. So I walked 150 feet maybe over to my cast. I go back to sitting on this bowed tree coming out, and I'm just looking down the pond, just enjoying. It's just a wonderful night, but it's going to get dark in about 45 minutes or an hour, and I got to get back to the car. And my print's not set up. And I'm looking, so imagine I'm looking at midnight on the clock, or 12 on the clock, and I hear this hugely loud crack 150 feet to my left, and I snap my head over immediately, and I see a tan hand and a brown arm pull the top of this tree that's maybe, I don't know, 3-4 inches thick, not big, but it was kind of tall, just yanked the top of that and yanked it straight down, and I immediately screamed, "I'm leaving." And it's the first time I've had a real encounter like that. I was terrified. And I called my wife. I had reception. Called my wife. I told her I loved her. And I told her where the car was. And I told her I would try to call her in an hour. My chest was pounding. My head was on fire. I had to take my baseball cap off. And then I noticed the print's not dry. And I'm like, I'm not leaving. And so I stayed there another couple minutes. And I'm just staring at this place where I saw the arm pull that branch down. And I hear feet stomping somewhere behind me on a path that I've got to take to leave. And I yelled, "I'm leaving." I grabbed the cast as best it could, and I went up the hill, and I called that buddy of mine, Leroy, and I said, "Dude, is this something I should be worried about?" And he said, "You've been doing this for years. It's a little late to ask now." And then he made the comment, he goes, "Sometimes that's the cost of getting a good print."
Wow.
Now, where we happen to be at right this moment, I used to drive by this specific location all the time and would always laugh and say, well, if there was a Bigfoot in Indiana, this is where they would be. Look at this around here. This looks squatchy. I had no idea what I was talking about. But to come to find out, we are sitting in a very hot area that we have a lot of activity. So it turns out there is Bigfoot in this area right here. I would have never guessed that 20 years ago.
Just out placing my recorder, I noticed this out here. Huh. Looks like a couple things here too. Looks like they're both, like pushed to connect with each other. It looks like, doesn't look like a wind event because there's nothing else like that.
And so I came back the next day and basically walked up where I thought it would have stood or where I could remember, and that's when I found an indentation in the leaves.
Really?
And I was like, this is where it stood, and there was a broken stick that where it stepped. And a friend was coming out to plaster it. He moved the stick, put back the leaves, and there it was. So it was like, see these little trees?
Yeah.
It was just on the other side of those little trees.
Wow. Right here.
Yeah. He was standing on it. See how it sloped up?
Yeah.
He was standing on that. So,
Yeah.
see, it's messed up now. See, that wasn't like that this summer. That wasn't like that when I found it. He was standing, well, maybe, hang on. He might have been just a little further down. But, yeah, the area is not the same. But it was in this area. I haven't been back here for a while. But yeah, he had to have been standing on the other front. Yeah, right here.
Really?
He was right in here. Now it's really soft. But see, they threw extra new dirt on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could see him clearly through that.
Wow.
Because he was standing up here. And see how they messed it all up? Somebody messed it up.
Yeah, that looks like they've kind of pushed
Threw
some of
new
the dirt.
on there. And yeah. So I never took anybody official back here except for Leroy. And that was it.
Do you remember when it occurred to you that they are definitely here past, maybe it wasn't the footprint, but was there an experience or did something happen? Because you've had actual experiences.
Yes,
out here.
I've had experiences, but one of the first things that really caught me after talking to Steve and Steve showing me signs of tree bends and tree structures and things like that, I had went out to my own area where I used to hunt at, and we're looking around and we found this massive, probably 30-foot tall pine tree that was literally pulled down and wrapped between two other trees. There's no way that could naturally bend that way. There was, when I'm looking at it, I'm going, there's no way that naturally could happen. So that right there intrigued me. And then we started doing the tree knocks and doing some whoops and screams. And then when we started getting responses back out of deep valleys in the middle of July in hot weather, there ain't nobody gonna be down in the middle of that valley when there's no camping, there's nothing down in the middle of that valley. There's no way that someone's going to pick up a tree or a log or something and knock on a tree back at me. That right there made me start going, okay, there is something out here. They are responding. They are getting back. And so it just kind of evolved from there.
But over the years, the things I've seen, encountered, experienced, I'm like, they're anything but a great bait. They are not a monkey man. I go, now, so now I gotta find out, what are they? Who are they? And where did they come from? So that was gonna be my mission. And I had to get them questions answered to go further. So over the years, different sightings, different encounters, I started learning more and more from them. That indeed they were very good-hearted people, very friendly people. If you respected them, they would respect you. If you wished harm on them, they would wish harm on you. And you would probably be in one of David Pilati's missing 411 books.
Good vocals. That's something else when you hear that in person, huh?
Yeah, no, it really is. And at the time, the funny thing with that is I didn't really think anything of it. I just like, I literally went home and I didn't even look at that audio for like a week, and something told me like, maybe I should look at that. And I plugged it in and I was pretty blown away with what it actually sounded like. Like sometimes you get a vocal, you hear a vocal, you don't think it's that good, and then it actually ends up being really good. Or sometimes it's vice versa too, where you think it's really good, then it ends up being nothing.
Mm. Yeah, there was the one that we heard because I went out with you guys.
Yeah.
Last weekend, and it was faint, but I actually got a copy of that too on my recorder, and it was interesting.
So yeah, somebody's either that or I don't see any walnuts above us. Oh. That was just like this.
That's it.
All right, so I'm with Aaron now, and you're setting up. What are you doing?
So yeah, so you know, this is something you sent me last week. A video of someone using it's triangulating recorders using something called time difference of arrival. So if you have recorders set up in a triangle, right, and like say you're in the middle or you're closer to one than the other, it's kind of like, you know, running to one. If one's further away, it's going to take longer to get to it. And it's the same with a vocal. If the source is further away from one recorder than the other, excuse me, it's going to take longer for the sound to travel. So it's an application that I use ChatGPT to I guess develop, but it's pretty common. A lot of people have used it. But basically, you can type in 3 coordinates. You can upload your audio, and then basically, as long as it's synced, it looks at the time difference of arrival of the peak of the vocal. So
That's
we're
so
going to
cool.
test this out and see if this actually works. But we just gave Bob a recorder. We have 2. We're going to set them up. If you look here on my Onyx, we're going to mark the areas, and then latitude, longitude. And then if anything, we're going to test it out, right? So we're going to kind of go in the middle. I'm going to do a call blast, and we'll know the exact location of where we're doing the call blast from. So I'll be able to plug all the data into this application, and we'll see if it gives us the approximate location where we actually are. So that's a way to test it before actually, you know, recording a Bigfoot, but maybe we'll record one in the process.
Heck yeah.
After a few years, we actually started having our own experiences. I've had rocks thrown at me, limbs thrown at me. What was really kind of funny, some of the first things was we would hear these barn owls. You know, and we go, yeah, it's a barn owl. That one sounds a little weird, but you know, you didn't think too much about it. Until we listened to them come up closer to us one night. We heard them away from us, moving closer to us, and they was moving, and it sounded like they was on the ground. It wasn't in trees. They was close together, which sounded weird for barn owls to be close together. But they moved as they got up, and when they got really close to us, we started getting hit with rocks. You could hear rocks coming through the tree limbs and bouncing around us. And we started going, owls don't throw rocks. What's this? And then we realized when we didn't leave, those rocks got a little bit bigger. And until they got big enough, we went, okay, we're taking the hint, we're leaving. So that's when it really started changing a lot, is once we started having those type of experiences. And it took a while. I mean, it took years before I've got to the point now where I'm more relaxed, and that's exactly what I want. I want them to come in and let me know they're there. Come in and throw a rock at me, throw rocks at my feet, or come in close, or do something and let me know that you're there. I want to hear you come in. I want to see what you do when you come in.
Wow. But yeah, he was standing, and as you can see, I mean, it was, yeah, it definitely was not that area. He was up in here somewhere, so I could see him really well. And I'm trying to think if he was in this spot right here, because there was a good size indentation up somewhere up in here, or it might even be a little further back, but he was definitely standing in this area because there was a twig that was broke. So this definitely has had new material pushed up on it. But
And
yeah,
leaves.
it was in this area, and I'm thinking it was right here.
Wow.
He was up here because it was stuff like this right there. He might have been standing like that, but these leaves and stuff were not in the way. There was nothing in the way for me seeing them.
Oh, so it was before the leaves were up?
It was before the leaves. Well, it was in the summer. It was in July, but I could clearly see him. I mean, I could see him. I could see him real good.
Wow.
And I'm feeling around, but I just may have stepped in the same spot. It did, but I could clearly see it. I mean, I wasn't that far away to make a misidentification.
Wow.
That for sure.
That's wild to go exactly to the spot that you saw one.
Yeah. And I even brought my kids out here and showed them where it stood, because I was like, kids, yeah, this is where it was. And all these leaves were not in the way. I could see them clear as that's what I thought it might be, a shadow, so I came back. But and yeah, I wasn't out here to do anything. I was just out here releasing some anxiety, and that was it. So
Wow.
that's pretty much. And then from then on, every time I set, something walks up, I don't mess around. I get out of there as soon as I think something's doing it, because I'm not really trying to attract anything. I just want some peace and quiet on that.
Wow. And you have multiple recorders because...
Yeah, so these
Are your-
we're going to use for the triangulation. These are ones I've just got over the years. One of these I'll bring with me. I may leave another one in the car. So, because
Very
sometimes, something goes wrong with a recorder.
Yeah.
So, yeah. it'll be
Sweet.
fun. So we'll see what happens.
Heck yeah. All dusty. Right now we're headed out to place the recorder. I'm filming right now. It's cool. I'm behind you. I can see your silhouette in the red light.
Yeah, so we've never done this before. I've always thought it'd be interesting. We have Bob in another location. He's going to be about, I think, a half mile from this.
Yeah.
And he's going to blast the sound and see what it sounds like.
Very cool. So we are half a mile on a trail. We have somebody that's half a mile from us, so we're trying to get them to do a call blast to us, see if we can hear it.
It's not working, so we're just going to do one and maybe he'll get the memo. I really want to see what it sounds like. I'm always the one doing it, so I like to be on the receiving end to hear what it sounds like. So
And,
maybe he'll get the memo.
Maybe we'll get a response.
Yep. Do it in his direction. Now, for testing purposes, it's important that I mark my location. I'm about to get on the megaphone and say, Bob, do a call blast. Oh, gosh.
I went out to this campsite one night, and it was getting kind of chilly, and there was nobody out. There was one other set of people about, 150 yards. Did you hear that?
I did.
So I heard, I saw these guys sitting in their truck forever, and they had this blazing bonfire going. And then you're just sitting out in the woods, and I had my feet up. I dragged over a picnic table to the fire, and the fire was about 15 feet from the woods. And the woods right there drops off about 4 feet down, like straight drop off, and then it goes down this little like canyon. And so I'm sitting at my fire, And these guys get in their truck and just drive off. They sat in their truck forever. I thought it was kind of weird. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't really care. But they leave. And I'm like, there's this big bonfire going in the woods and there's nobody there, which I found so odd. So right when they drive out, maybe 30 feet to my left and about 15 feet out, something just starts walking. And when I say walking, it's going through the brush. You hear stories about, you'll hear something coming down a hill and it sounds like a car going through the forest, just taking the little trees and everything. It gets loud, like very aggressive. And this thing just starts walking like 30 feet to my left, and I'm kind of blown away because I never heard anything walk up.
You were you hearing some of the...
Absolutely. And I saw trees maybe
crashing
2 inches across, maybe 15 feet tall. They are whipping as something is pacing back and forth.
Really?
Big, long steps. It's covering a lot of ground, and I'm just sitting there. I had a machete embedded in the table, and I had a 9mm gun next to me, and I completely put them out of my head. And I started talking to whatever this was. And that's a change I've tried to make in the forest. That I'll ask permission to come in the forest or announce who I am and say, I'm just here to enjoy the day and thank you for sharing your woods. As dumb as that sounds, things have changed since then. But
Wow.
This pacing went on and back and forth, and I had called 2 friends that lead this local group and said I was going to come down for a fire. And they show up, and all the pacing stops. And this pacing was maybe 15, 16 feet from me if I walked it off. And they hang out for about 10 minutes, and I get the courage, since they're there, I walk the 150, 200 yards, whatever it is, to the other fire. And as I'm doing it, whatever it is paralleling me on the right. And I'm yelling back to my 2 friends, dude, this thing is walking with me, whatever it is.
Wow.
And so they hang out for a couple of minutes and they leave, and their car is not even out of sight, and the pacing starts again.
Really?
And it was like pretty aggressive, and I couldn't tell if it was 1 or 2 whatevers. And it sounded bigger than a coyote or anything like that, and it sounded like it was 2 feet, kind of stomping. And what was interesting is before the pacing started, when they drove away, I hear something, it sounds like, and I've been down here during the day, so I know what it looks like down in this little valley, crevice, whatever looking thing. It sounds like something is running full tilt uphill to me, and I'm kind of leaned back in my chair. I didn't know what to expect. I was actually kind of frightened. And it came running up, and I'm just sitting there kind of holding my breath, and it stops just inside the forest, and it went back to pacing. And it went on, I don't know, 10 minutes. I didn't look at my watch. I didn't pull up a camera. I got up at one point from the fire. I don't know why. I've done this before with a couple friends of mine. I walked over to right, in my mind, a foot or 2 from where whatever it is. And I got a banana in one hand and a yellow or green granny apple. I always take like a bright apple at night, thinking if I put it out there, something may see it. I think it was a yellow apple. And I said, please don't throw rocks at me. I'm going to throw this banana and this apple out underhanded. And I'm standing literally right next to where I thought the pacing was. And I tossed them out underhanded, and I said, I'm going to cover the table with apples and bananas when I leave. You and your family can have those just on me. And I turned my back on it, walked back to my chair 15 feet away, just on the other side. And I was kind of hugging the fire. So I was out there alone. Sometimes I get a little weird. And the pacing went on for a few more minutes, and then it just stopped. Never heard anything leave, just stopped. And my fire had gone out at some point, and I just sat out there, and I wanted to leave so badly, but I kept saying, you big wimp, this is what you're out here for. And so I just stayed.
Wow.
It was totally cool. It was just totally cool.
And I'm more relaxed now. I mean, I was with you one night when we had the one walk around us, right around the campsite, and its eyes light up, and we're all standing there, and you're being as calm as could be, going, oh, thank you, you know. and I think back to the first time that I ever went out at night, being scared to death, going, what in the world am I going on, to walking away that night going, okay, I just had one within 30 yards of me, and I'm standing there going, that's cool. This is cool that we see its eyes and we know it's there. We know what we're looking at. That's when things really become fun. When you get to that point and that you go, okay, so they're not here to hurt. As long as we're not being threatening, we're not threatening it in any way. We're not trying to do nothing to it. We're not going to provoke it in any way. And if we don't do that, then most likely it's not going to do nothing but check us out and move on. It's not going to do a whole lot. Sometimes I think when they throw some rocks, if the rocks get bigger, then maybe they have a young one with them or something. Maybe there's a specific reason that they don't want you in that spot at the time. And they will try to intimidate you and move you along. And if you just go along with it and go, okay, we'll move right along, then they're not going to really do anything.
So, you know the video I showed you where I was with the guy in Texas?
Yeah.
We were out about like this, so it completely rules out. You know there's nobody out here.
Yeah, there ain't nobody out here.
No way. Little bunny right in front of us right there. I got it. Hey, buddy. We're not here to hurt you. Don't worry. That's so cool. We are, what's that, 12 feet?
Yeah, I would say 12 feet.
Looks further on the phone, but it's right there. So cool. Wow.
But yeah, that's where he stood. And as you can see, as we further back, see how clear that starts to get the further back you get?
Yeah,
So you could definitely see a figure for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Standing in that area.
If you were to guess how tall he was, what would you say?
Well, if he was up there and back, I'd say he's probably he definitely clears 6 foot. Definitely was not super tall.
So not massive.
No. And he wasn't that big either. He was kind of like, you could see when the way his body was standing. If he was standing with his back to me, I could see the arm clearly enough because I remember zooming in on the shoulder with my eyes going, oh, that's massive. And it looked like the arm of kind of like a great ape. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's the spot where that was at. And it was just, as you can see where we just walked from, that's not a very far distance.
No.
I mean, even if that thing has got like a really good speed, it could have caught me with no problem. But, yeah, it didn't say nothing, didn't do nothing.
Wow.
Which I thank God it didn't, because I was like, oh, yeah, what am I going to do? But, yeah, and then nothing else. After that, I went and got in the truck and left. I was like, oh, boy. But since then, I still walk all the way down through here sometimes. I did after that, knowing something's out here, I still, by myself, walk the entire drive. I even got so close and so far as where I almost walked down to the lake itself, but then it started getting really dark, and I was like, nah, I better walk back because that's quite a hike. But even after seeing it, I still walked out here by myself. And that's pretty much what that is. I mean, I was like, I don't care if you believe me or not, but I saw it, and nobody can convince me otherwise. I was saying, yeah, I definitely saw something that should not have been there, supposedly.
Was that your first clear sighting?
That's the first and only. I mean, it's kind of like if you're looking for like a tool or something, and you're going, man, where's that at? So you stop looking for it, and you're not looking for it at all. That's when you find the thing you were looking for to begin with.
It's funny.
And it's a similar situation. I was not looking for anything that day. I just happened to look over and saw something either A, with its back to me.
Right down there.
Just right down there. I mean, it was
wow.
Yeah, because like I said, I was messing around on the ground.
Yeah.
And I was close to that corner, just right there. So that corner is not that far.
Yeah.
And I got 20/20 vision, and I know what I saw, and I was like, oh crap.
Wow.
It was large enough you could tell what it was.
Yeah, and it's all kind of that solicitation response. So we're soliciting it with a call blast, and whatever it is responding with a response. And I mean, it seems like the winter, honestly, I have the best luck with it for whatever reason. I mean, there's times, man, like during the winter, like it'll be like a month, like every weekend in a row that I go out, like I'll have a response at least once. So it's extremely effective for whatever reason. I know there's people that say like, they're against it for different reasons. Most of the time, like, you don't know what you're blasting out, which is, I guess, completely true. I mean, you really don't know what it is that you're blasting out or what it's saying. Knock on wood, we've never had anything, aggressive or anything like that.
Yeah.
But obviously, we do it because it seems to be the most effective way to get a response. And if anything, it tells you where these animals are.
It's funny.
The replacement.
I'm one of those people that doesn't do it too much, for more reasons. Also because I'm out there all the time. Like, if I go out and scream in the woods and then I go to my camp a quarter mile away, it's just if in case I piss something off. But I was with someone in Texas like last February, and they were like, "Do you mind if I do a vocal?" I'm like, "Yeah, go for it." And we got a break. You could hear a pretty clear break within. I was just looking at it the other day. 13 minutes after he did it, like it was completely calm in the winter in Texas, probably 40 degrees, and all of a sudden, just there's a break out in the woods. And on that note, I sent this to you already. Maybe I'll add it to this video. But I went out to one of the spots we did a call blast in the next night, and in 40 minutes, there was an interesting crash straight across the street from me. I don't personally take it as a threatening thing because it's something I mean, it's weird, but I ask for it. I've heard of people doing that, and I do. And I think if it was aggressive, more stuff would follow. I take it as a bit of a hello. I know people comment sometimes and say they're telling you to get out of there, and it's kind of a long story, but to me, it's like, wow, like what else would do that? And you haven't heard of anyone being attacked or hurt or killed or...
I haven't. People will argue that and say that, that someone got hurt, but when you listen to the story, it's probably because they provoked it. They was trying to do something to it. Maybe they pulled out a gun and pointed a gun at it or something, and you have to look at it. And I tell anybody, your little fluffy kitty will claw the out of you if you do something it doesn't like, or you try to pin it in a corner. You just don't mess with the animal because they will fight back. And I think these are the same way. If you provoke it, then I don't think you'll win. I think you'll be on the short end of it, but give it a chance. Give it a chance. Don't immediately run. Don't immediately think that it's gonna kill you. Just be calm. Don't be putting off any bad vibes on it and grabbing towards a gun or anything else. Just go, okay, thank you. We are friends. They understand what we're saying, so just go with it.
That reminds me of something like a break or footsteps. I've thought about that, and I don't know where they're coming from when they're around, if they're thinking, which I think they are. But it seems like a peaceful offering, like one little break or footsteps. Compared, they can be not peaceful if they want to. I think we've all heard of
Right.
when in some situation, there are situations where people have been scared out of a spot, and there's no mistaking that from what I understand. So one little crack, that could be frightening in the pitch black, but if you have the whatever in your mind to realize it's just a little crack.
You don't know what they're doing. They could be standing there going, okay, they want to know that I'm here, or they try to move up a little bit closer and they happen to break a stick, and someone flips out and starts going weird on them, and they're going, okay, sorry. Didn't mean to really scare you there, same thing we would do, but if they wanted to hurt you, they can do it.
Mm.
If they want to come up on you, they can do it. I mean, we've experienced it, and even you told me one time, we're standing there, and you say to me, you go, they're actually polite. And I went, what do you mean they're polite? Well, I normally hear them walk up, but I never hear them leave. Why is that?
Yeah.
If they make noise to come in, why wouldn't they make noise to leave? Well, it tells me that they're letting me know that they're walking up here.
Yep.
So
it's a choice that they're making to let us hear them.
It's a choice that they're doing, because all of it is on their terms. If you experience something, it's on their terms, not yours. It's on theirs.
And I also take things into account that I've heard, where a number of times I've heard people say they saw one just book through the woods and they didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
I don't know how that can possibly work, but it's a thing that a lot of people have talked about.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard people say that they busted through the woods and it sounded like a bull or whatever was running through the middle of the woods, tearing all the trees apart. And then other ones say they took off and they slid through those trees and looked like a linebacker, just dodging everything as they went through there. I don't understand a lot of that. Unless you experience it, we're not going to understand it.
Wow.
But it looks exactly like they show on TV. If you take a hoodie, put a hoodie on your head, stand backwards to somebody, and that's exactly the shape you're going to see.
I've heard that description before.
Yeah, so have I on those Monster Quest, Finding Bigfoot, all that stuff. No neck. Well, this thing had no neck, but made it what it didn't have, it made up for muscle. So,
wow.
So yeah, I wasn't that far from him or it.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. Well, I mean, if somebody was playing pranks on me, there's a whole lot of other stuff I've heard out here that I don't think people would, because I never really told anybody where I was.
Right.
I just disappeared myself.
Considering where we are and what I know of this area, I don't think somebody was pranking you out here.
Oh no. As you can see, as we're walking towards the evening hour, it gets pretty dim and dark, and as you look into the woods, you can see, how much less lighting you're gonna get.
It's like it goes down on either side, I think.
On either side, yeah, they're both steep ravines. But yeah.
So I'm here with Aaron, and we camped. Oh, that's a cool hat, by the way.
Thanks.
And over last night in Indiana. And you want to just talk about the night, like sounds you heard, and also this morning?
Yeah, I've always heard people talk about the specific campsite that we're at, that there's always been activity. I've been back here, I've never camped. I've always wanted to camp, so thanks for letting me camp with you. But there's just a lot of tree knocks. Probably heard like 15 tree knocks, like no lie, just like all night, all around us. Then we, with a group of people, actually you stayed at the camp, a group of us walked the fire road back, and we heard a couple sets of howls, and I'm kind of eager to go back and listen to my recording and see exactly, what they are. But yeah, I heard howls, and then this morning woke up and We heard some, I just heard a knock right now, but we heard some vocals in the distance, and they sounded, definitely was not a coyote. So yeah, once again, it would be kind of be cool to look back at our recording and see what we got.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, thank you. I just that was cool. It was a cool night.
Yeah,
Had a bunch of people here, and
it's fun.
yeah, awesome.
No. Yes, I did. So the first thing being played is the Ohio howl, and then after that is how I record it, and you'll see how similar they sound next to each other.
Wow, that is really similar.
Yeah, extremely similar, and that's why that howl is one of my favorites, just because of the similarities between. I mean, the Ohio howl is probably the most iconic Bigfoot howl, suspected Bigfoot howl there is in existence. So to record something, I mean, that's something that I remember as a kid listening now, like, man, that's crazy, and be able to actually record something very similar to that in Indiana is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's why that's probably one of my favorites.
I've actually recorded something like that too. I'll probably add it somewhere here as well.
Was it in Indiana or somewhere else?
Yeah, Indiana. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I've heard that one from you.
I think it was at the end of the recording. One of the ones I was playing you guys, it had a couple in it.
Oh, okay.
It's way better with headphones than over my phone. Whoa. Wow. Oh my God. Whoa. Wow. Wow. Oh my God.